Keep yourself in the loop of everything football. Listen to Alex and Jeremiah on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello there, I'm Jeremiah.
I am Alex, always and forever here.
Dedicated to college and NFL football. The latest football news on and off the field. NFL draft trade rumors. We've got you covered from the NFL, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything else in between. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we talk the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football, from the latest signings to this year's breakout stars and all the news in between. As always, I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Alex. Hey.
What's up, man? Hey, we're supposed to do 2 shows yesterday.
Last week.
And apparently...
Last week, no, not yesterday.
Oh, no, we'll talk about yesterday, too.
Oh,
yeah, we'll talk about, because the fact that yesterday was on my mind.
It's okay.
For today's show. But yeah, last week we were supposed to do 2 shows for you guys, but yet technical difficulties, or should I say power outage.
Yeah, power out went out here.
It ruined our chances to do 2 shows for you guys. So
yeah, I showed up and the power was out, and I don't think it was going to get fixed anytime soon, so I just had to end up going home. Yeah,
well, I'm real glad you let me know.
Yeah, I could have let you show up. I let you know.
I'm really glad that didn't happen, or else I would have been like, I don't know.
I can imagine how that would have gone.
I would have told the boss, I don't know. We might need a new guy here. I'm kidding. But
I could just let you show up.
Anyways,
man, for that text message.
But it's all right, man. Hey, I got something to tell you.
Yeah, what's up?
I saw Suicide Squad.
Me too. Well, I mean, for the second time. But yeah, what'd you think?
Dude, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it more than Batman versus Superman.
I love Batman v Superman. I'm probably gonna watch it later today again for like the 100th time. But I like it for a lot of reasons. But Suicide Squad I like for a lot of the same reasons and a lot of different reasons too. I thought Suicide Squad was very good in terms of the way it was acted. The actors were great. The story lacked a little bit.
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree with on that part. Yeah.
I growing up, that's like my childhood in a live action movie, Actually, it was cool for me to see.
What did you think of Jared Leto's Joker? I thought he did pretty decent, did really well.
I've always loved Jared Leto as a joke. As an actor.
I thought you said as a joke. I was like, what?
No, as an actor.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of 30 Seconds to Mars' band. So I've always been a big fan of Jared Leto, and obviously being Batman's my favorite superhero. And knowing everything there is to know about Batman, if there's anything on par with my knowledge of football, it's my knowledge of Batman and things related to Batman, which includes the Joker. And I thought he did a great job. He filmed a lot more that didn't even get put in the movie. So I'm very excited to hopefully see those scenes one day, because he went full method on it. He never broke character in and out of scenes. He was the Joker. So I thought he did a great job. I thought everybody really did a solid job in that movie. Even people like Jai Courtney, Captain Boomerang, who people don't think is the greatest actor, I thought did a great job.
Yeah, he did really good.
Well, because Jai Courtney is Australian by birth. He's Australian. He's Australian accent, all that good stuff. And Captain Boomerang is a Australian person, and he's also not the best person. Like he's kind of a bad dude. He's not the greatest. You don't want to be in cohorts with that kind of guy because he's going to backstab you. And so people are like, Jai Courtney, bad Australian actor. Captain Boomerang, bad Australian dude. He's made for the role. And I thought he was pretty good. And I thought everybody acted pretty well. I liked Will Smith.
I did like Will Smith. Will Smith was really good in this movie.
Margot Robbie was really good. Joel Kinnaman, who played Rick Flag, was really good. I've only ever seen him in one other thing. He was in the remake of the RoboCop.
He was on House of Cards on the last season.
Yeah, he was in the remake of RoboCop. I know that. And that movie wasn't very good, but he apparently wasn't very good in it either. But I suppose there's a lot of
I thought he did pretty decent in that movie.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
But he was in that, and I think he was in that movie Drive All Night or something like that. Up All Night, Liam Neeson's last movie that he was in.
I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen that movie.
And Ed Harris was in
it,
and it's like he killed his son, and now he's gonna try to kill his son, It was weird. But no, very good acting, and I'm glad you saw it. I'm glad you liked it, man.
Yeah, and I think Will Smith is probably like my favorite. I'm a huge Will Smith guy.
Yeah.
You know, from the French Prince of Bel-Air days.
Yeah, he's the Fresh Prince of Bel Rev in this one.
Yeah, but yeah,
prison.
you know, I'm a huge Will Smith guy, so
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of reluctant to see him in this role as Deadshot,
Yeah.
but he pulled it off really well.
I've
And-
never had an issue like watching a movie and seeing the actor and be like, oh, that's like I watched The Woman in Black, and I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I never sat there and went, oh, Harry Potter. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have the issue seeing them as, like, I usually, fall into the movie and see him as the character, you know what I mean? I mean, I had the same worry as you, I would say.
Yeah.
But I just saw him as Deadshot. It was good.
But you know what else happened this weekend?
What's that?
There was supposed to be an NFL game
Yeah, dude,
supposed to be played yesterday. It was
looking forward to it
It was
all
one of the
day.
two bad things that happened this weekend. One was the Frank Ocean album didn't come out after it was supposed to come out on Friday. I don't want to get into that because it's a football show. But the second thing was the Hall of Fame game got canceled yesterday. And I'm not going to – I was so excited to actually see some football.
Excited.
I was pumped.
What was your first thing?
The Frank Ocean album not coming out.
Yeah. I mean, you should be used to that by now. That's happened like 6 times.
No, it's been like 4 years now. It's like
and it's happened like 6 times.
It's never gonna come out. But anyways,
no, I know.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to it all day yesterday.
The Hall of Fame game.
Yeah,
or
I love the Hall of Fame game.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, Hall of Fame game.
I was like the Hall of Fame game or the Frank Ocean album.
I'm not a huge Frank Ocean fan.
I love
like
Frank
one
Ocean.
or two of his
I
songs.
listened to Channel Orange on the way here, so
Yeah.
because they had no new album. But anyway, back to the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it all day. Even I mean, Luck was supposed to play maybe like a series at the most,
But the
maybe
fact
2.
we were gonna have football.
But the fact that it's football,
Yeah.
and like I've told you before, along the lines of also liking the Pro Bowl, I like. I like.
Actually,
the Hall of
I know
Fame
you
game,
like
too.
the Pro Bowl, but
I'm
I like
sorry. I'm preseason. I mean, I like the Pro Bowl too, but I'm sorry. I mean preseason.
Yeah, I like the Hall of Fame game because that means we're about 4 or 5 weeks away.
Yeah,
from
no.
real
I'm
football.
sorry. That's what I meant preseason.
Yeah.
I like the preseason. So the Hall of Fame game for me is awesome. It's technically the first football action of the year.
No, it is the first football
Yeah.
action of the year.
And the reason I love preseason games so much, and Ben and I have very different opinions on this, my co-host on the sports show, is that you get to some of the games, like the Hall of Fame game especially, the quarterback for the Packers was going to be, starting was going to be an undrafted free agent. Like, these guys are playing for their football lives in a sense.
Well, not only that, it gives these roster bubble guys one extra game.
Exactly.
So that's why this
That's
game was
why
so
it's so
important.
bad.
Yeah.
It sucks so bad for someone like that guy. He might not even make the team, and this was going to be a chance he got to start a quote-unquote NFL game. That's something you live for, and it was disappointing, I suppose. But you have to look in terms of the safety of the players. That's what comes first. That's what's most important, and that's definitely. I was happy that they made that move. Because you can't claim that you're doing all these things for player safety, and then for a game, no offense, that is literally the least important game the entire year, have them go out there and play and risk their safety. I thought it was the right move to not have them play. It's just disappointing, I was so excited for this game, but at the same time, we have games this Thursday to look forward to.
Yeah,
it's
we're
a shame
just
for
days
those
away.
players, though.
We're days away, but for those of you guys that don't know, the Hall of Fame game was canceled. The game between the Green Bay Packers and Indianapolis Colts last night because poor weather conditions at Tom Benson Stadium caused the game to be canceled. I guess the middle of the logo. I guess there was
in the end zones.
In the end zones, I guess they're starting to feel like concrete or something like that.
The paint that they used,
Yeah.
regardless of what kind of paint it was or not, it congealed. And Aaron Rodgers said he walked on like the he walked across the 50-yard line before the game, and he said it felt like he just like walked on plastic or something.
Yeah, portions of the Hall of Fame logo in the middle of the field melted.
Mm-hmm.
And, which caused like concern for the players, like you said, Aaron Rodgers. I know a anonymous player from the Packers told ESPN that it felt like concrete.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, if I was a player, I wouldn't want to play in that either. And this game doesn't even matter.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Somebody posted,
but it does kind of like. It's disappointing for
It is.
fans that
Yeah.
that bought tickets,
Mhm.
to see the game,
Yeah.
even though their tickets got fully refunded.
Yeah, exactly.
But like if I were to travel all the way to Canton, I would be madly disappointed.
Yeah, no, I would have been disappointed too. The one thing that was funny, I saw those, somebody posted, they're like, all the fans are upset they don't get to see the game. I say just have Brett Favre go out there and stand at the 50-yard line and tell stories. That's worth the price of admission and then some.
I would like to see that. They should have just ESPN should have just televised that instead of the actual game.
Dude, I would have watched. I didn't get to see all of them yet. I recorded the Hall of Fame induction, the ceremony.
Yeah.
And I watched Kevin Green's, DeBartolo's, Stabler's. I've watched Favre's now. I'm just missing Harrison's and Dungy and Pace so far of the guys I really wanted to see, and then obviously Dick Stanfield too. But I watched Favre's, and his speech I could have watched that all day. His speech was great.
His speech was very
Kevin
emotional.
Green's was really good too.
I didn't see Kevin Green's yet.
His was
but
really
Brett
good.
Favre's was really emotional speech.
Yeah,
of the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, his was really, DeBartolo's was really really
Yeah, and I heard that he roasted Jerry Rice and Joe Montana briefly.
Yeah, he said that there was one point that that in camp they called Rice Fifi or something like that. So yeah, he's making fun of him. But we're gonna get into all of those guys, all the inductees this year, and some notable moments from this year's Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and some omissions that didn't make the list this year, and maybe some favorites heading into next year. But we're gonna take our first break, and we'll come back to do that here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football.
Oh, come on,
Football podcast. I almost missed it. At the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
There you go, Alex.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, and we're going to get into the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies this year. It was a pretty good one, I might say. I've watched it the last few years, and I mean they're always good. I'm a big football I like history of football. You know, I'm big on the history.
Football
of football
historian.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, there's guys that literally are football historians.
Yeah, no, there is. Yeah.
There's a guy that works at the Canton, Ohio, that is like a football historian, and I would love that job.
That is probably the best job ever.
Honestly, I would say yeah.
Yeah.
I would love that job. And maybe I'll go and train under him and then unseat him in the years to come.
Be
his protege.
His
understudy. Apprentice.
Apprentice,
That's
yes.
what you're looking for,
Apprentice, yes.
But like
There
his
you go.
apprentice, just like Pinocchio. All right. Moving on. So we're going to talk about the names this year in the Hall of Fame class of 2016. Jeremiah, you want to mention those names?
Yeah, all the inductees this year in the Hall of Fame included, of course, Brett Favre. He headlined the class. You know, former Green Bay Packer, great. And he also had a couple of stints with the New York Jets and Minnesota Vikings.
Don't forget the team that drafted him.
Oh, and the Atlanta Falcons. Thank you. I
You're welcome.
always forget he was there for like a year or two.
And the year he had one of the robot face masks. Like the running back. He didn't have a quarterback mask.
Yeah, I know. And then and who also being inducted to this year's class is, you know, Tony Dungy, former Indianapolis Colts and Tampa Bay Buccaneers coach.
I said, don't forget the Bucs. And he also played for the Steelers in the 70s and won a ring with them.
Yes. Okay. And then, of course, Kevin Green, who played with multiple teams.
Steelers, Panthers, Rams, LA Rams.
49ers also.
49ers for like a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got Marvin Harrison, one of the all-time great receivers. You know,
Yeah.
Of course, you know, playing with the Indianapolis Colts.
The one and done team.
Yes. You know, being a part of that Peyton Manning's legacy.
Oh,
So,
yeah. He's a heavy part in the Peyton
Yeah,
legacy.
being a major part of his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Orlando Pace, former St. Louis Rams offensive tackle.
Oh, yeah. One of the best offensive tackles to
Well,
ever play.
Yeah, he's just like the way he moved. Orlando Pace is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Ken Stabler, the late great Oakland Raiders quarterback.
He played 1 year somewhere else, too.
I don't have that on my.
I will.
head right
I will
now.
look
Okay.
to remind myself. I feel like I can remember that, but I can't remember right now. Go ahead.
Dick Stanfield was also inducted to the Hall of Fame.
Yes, he was.
He's the all 50s decades team playing in the 53 championship team with the Detroit Lions in the NFL. And, of course, last but not least, Eddie DeBartolo Jr., the owner of the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, when
For a long time.
and
Through
when
the 80s.
Eddie DeBartolo Jr. was the owner of the San Francisco 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
They won 5 Super Bowls under him. So, of course, that is a legacy. And I believe he's the first owner in the Hall of Fame.
No, I think one of the Rooneys is in the Hall of Fame.
One of the Rooneys is?
Yeah,
okay.
but I'd say he's not. It's on a single hand how many is in there. And he's the only. They're the only two to have that many Super Bowl wins as owners in general. So Stabler, real quick, I forgot. So one thing to always remember is he played for Bama. Always remember that. But no, he played obviously the majority of his career, 9 years, pretty much 10 seasons with the Raiders. He played 1 year with the Houston Oilers, and then he finished his career 2 years with the Saints. The Saints is the one I can never remember. So those are the teams, real quick, just so I help you out there.
Oh, thank you. All right.
You're welcome.
All right. If you want.
Oh, and if you want to get really in depth, he played for the Spokane Shockers.
Oh, Spokane Shockers.
Yes,
wow.
He played for the Spokane
league is
Shockers
that?
from 68 to 69.
what
It was
league
the Continental Football League.
Continental
Yeah,
Football
it was
League.
Professional
All right.
American Football League that was operated in North America from 65 to 69. It was established following the collapse of the United Football League in the earlier 60s, and then it became a major force in professional football outside of the NFL also. It was really cool because it was the AFL, the NFL, and then the Continental Football League for a couple of years. Guys like Bill Walsh, Stabler, Sam Weish were all players and coaches that later went to the NFL and were pretty popular. But yeah, it was only there for 5 years, roughly 65 to 69, 5 seasons. But had some notable teams. They had the Brooklyn Dodgers, the Charleston Rockets, Hartford Charter Oaks, Montreal Beavers, the Norfolk Neptunes, the Orlando Panthers, Philadelphia Bulldogs, Richmond Rebels, Toronto Rifles, and the Wheeling Ironmen. Those were their original season teams right there. And then they split it. They doubled the amount of teams they had the next year and had an Eastern and Western division. A little fun fact that not many people know about.
Wow. Thanks for dropping that knowledge.
That is historian right there.
That is Alex Historian's Minute in today's episode. I think we should make that a segment. I don't know.
I do the same kind of thing on our sports show. I do a fun fact of the day every day.
Yeah, that's Alex's fun fact of the day, guys.
You want a fun fact of the day football-wise?
Yeah, sure.
I have the same birthday as Tony Dungy.
Do you?
Yeah, October 6th,
All right.
except for he was born in 1955.
Well, obviously, you were born a different year.
So he's a little bit younger than I am.
Okay, well, that's awesome. All right, well, getting back to the inductees here.
Yes.
Couple of, I'm not obviously talk about all the players because we'll be going on and on.
Just a little quick.
I want to talk about Brett Favre because
Sure.
me and you grew up watching Brett Favre,
Mm-hmm.
and
I want to talk about Favre. I want to talk a little bit about Stabler.
I want to talk a little bit about Marvin Harrison too.
Okay, so you talk about Favre and we'll go back and forth.
Eddie DeBartolo Jr.
I know you do.
Okay.
I'll talk a little bit about Stabler because I've always enjoyed Stabler, and I feel like he didn't get the recognition he really deserved.
He really didn't.
He's in my opinion, he's the best. I mean, no offense to him.
Underrated quarterback.
Yeah, no
Very
offense
underrated.
to him. Second best left-handed quarterback of all time. Only because
who's the best?
You can't.
Steve
Young did so much.
He was so much more than a quarterback too. Steve Young.
Exactly. Even though Stabler did have a pretty solid in his early career. He did have a pretty solid ground game on his legs too. But let's get into Favre. Let's talk about Favre a little bit.
Yeah, well, Brett Favre, when he was with the Packers, 3-time MVP award from 95-97. So that's when he was starting to be on his peak. Played 20 seasons, 17 with the Packers. We all thought he was done after his 17th season, but he came back.
Mm-hmm.
Retired again, came back, retired again, came back, and retired again.
And then he's done.
And then now he's officially done. Getting back to Brett Favre here, I remember one of the Super Bowl commercials, I believe in 2010. I think the Arizona Cardinals and the Pittsburgh Steelers were playing.
So 2009?
2009, yeah, that one. But
2008-2009 season, because 2009-2010 season was, or at least the 2009 Super Bowl was the Saints Colts, and then the 2010-11 year was the Packers Steelers.
Okay. And you know what? I'm thinking of the Packers and Steelers.
Okay.
Okay.
So 2010-11
I think that's the one.
season.
But yeah, I remember there was a commercial of Brett. I forgot what the company was. But Brett Favre was on the commercial, and he had an MVP award that said 2019 MVP, and it had his face was like a holographic design, like saying like that's the word of the future, and he has like all gray hair. I was like, oh well, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, but obviously it didn't.
I'd be surprised if he made MVP.
Obviously it didn't. I just thought that was one of the most entertaining moments.
Was it his
Brett Favre's
jeans
career.
commercial?
Oh, the regular? No, it wasn't regular. Was it regular jeans that he was?
I mean, he is a sponsor for regular jeans.
No. It wasn't that one. It was some other company. I don't have it in my mind right now.
He does copper fit too.
It's bothering me that I don't have it in my mind. But anyway, that was probably one of my favorite entertaining moments of Brett Favre outside of football. But man, Brett Favre was just amazing to watch. I remember the day after his dad passed away. He was supposed to play on Monday Night Football against the Raiders, and he just absolutely tore it up.
4 or 5 touchdowns?
Yeah, I think it was 5 touchdowns against the Oakland Raiders, and that was best game of his career, one of the best games of his career for that matter. And, of course, the one play I will always remember about Brett Favre is when – hold on, Alex. It was when
I was going to give you an answer to your commercial.
which is when he was a member of the Minnesota Vikings. And, of course, the San Francisco 49ers were playing. Both teams were undefeated.
That was like his first, like, I'm back moment because he came back from the Jets hurt. And that was like week 2 or 3
It was week 3 because both teams were 2-0.
Yeah.
And that game had a lot of hype going in.
That was a great game.
It was a great game.
It's an even better
But, of
ending.
course, Brett Favre threw a game-winning touchdown pass.
Can you name that receiver?
I think his last name is Lewis.
Greg Lewis.
Greg Lewis. Yes, thank you. I was going to say it, but I didn't want to. Okay. He threw it to Greg Lewis.
Yes, sir, in the back of the end zone.
In the back of the end zone.
Not so much a toe tapper as more of like a foot tapper.
No, it was a foot tapper.
His body was going out of the end zone, but he put both his feet down.
And, of course, it counted as a touchdown.
Oh, it was great. It was touchdown.
It was touchdown.
And the best part about that play is Favre got smoked on it.
He did.
Too. Was it, I think, Brooks, maybe?
I think it was Amon
Just
Brooks.
smoked
Patrick
him.
Willis. It was one of those linebackers. But, yeah, he got absolutely smoked. He didn't even know it was a touchdown.
Yeah, he looked up. I think his helmet almost came off. And he looked up. He's like, "Ooh."
I remember this play because it was an amazing play for that matter. It was amazing. But not only that, it was. I grew up as a 49ers fan, and then I think the 49ers were winning 24-20, and after that play, the Vikings won 27-24, and that was probably the most amazing play I've seen that I still remember to this day. And that was like 6 years ago?
You mean ever, like football-wise?
Well, no, like from Brett Favre. From Brett Favre. That's one of my favorites.
That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
You know, even though it happened to my favorite team, you know, the fact that I was witnessing like Brett Favre's greatness, I was like, you know what? I'm not even mad at you, bro.
Yeah, it's funny, too, later that season, that the Steelers were the first team to beat the Vikings that year.
Yeah, they had a really good year, yeah.
They went to the
NFC Championship game.
The Vikings did. They did.
They did.
Lost
they lost to the Saints, who won the Super Bowl that
against
year.
The Colts.
Yeah.
But I remember in that game, it's not even a Favre moment. Adrian Peterson ran over William Gay, and then in moving forward with his run, put both of his feet on top of William Gay's chest, and he ran over him literally.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, the commercial for Favre, the sponsor was Hyundai.
Yes, there you go.
It was a Hyundai commercial.
Yes, that was the commercial I'm talking about. Yes,
sir.
Yes, thank you,
You're
you for that. But yeah,
you're welcome.
Hey, but yeah, man, Brett Favre, man, he was the career touchdown record holder until Peyton Manning broke it a couple years ago. And of course, Peyton Manning holds the record now.
And now he's retired too.
Two of
the best.
And now I feel old because both of these guys are retired.
Do you want another fun fact about Brett Favre?
Sure.
You know, for the first 3 or 5 years of his career, he didn't watch film.
Really?
Yeah. Kind of explains the way he played, doesn't it?
That gunslinger.
Yeah, that gunslinger mentality. Yeah. It's like he just knew the play. So he didn't watch film.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But moving on to another player some people consider to be a gunslinger was Stabler. Just some little things about Stabler that not everybody knows. He had pretty much a 14-year career if you exclude the 1 year in the CFL. But he played, obviously, 3 teams, the Raiders, the majority of his career, the Oilers, and then the Saints. But he was a Super Bowl champion, obviously, beating the Vikings that year. He was an MVP in 74. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro. He won the Burt Bell Award, not to mention NFL Offensive Player of the Year. He was 2 times the NFL passing touchdown leader. He was part of, and still is part of, the NFL 70s All-Decade team, along with plenty of Raiders and Steelers. The Burt Bell Award is the American Football Player of the Year in the National Football League. It was, at least. Burbell was the commissioner of the NFL. Excuse me. And then he was a national champion, and he was also a first-team All-SEC in college, but that is not relevant to the NFL. But yeah, I always thought he had a great year, and like I said, I know so much about NFL history, and being a Steeler fan, a lot of that is NFL history regarding the Steelers, and a lot of that is the 70s Steelers, and their biggest nemesis in that decade, besides the Cowboys, was the Raiders, and it was Stabler's led team.
Remember, the Immaculate Reception was between these two teams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And one thing that people always forget is, Stabler had a great career. He actually threw more interceptions in his career than he did touchdowns. He had a ratio of 194 to 222,
I believe that.
Which I don't know if that's common in that decade, but I wouldn't say it's uncommon, I suppose. But his best year, 74, when he won the MVP, he did throw for 2,296 yards, which sounds just so small this year. 16 touchdowns, 26 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. That's a pretty good year in relation to his following year, which was 16 to 24 in terms of touchdowns and interceptions. But his best season, probably by far, was his career mark in terms of touchdowns, was 27 to 17 in 76, when they did win the Super Bowl, as a matter of fact, I believe. Because 76 was the best Steelers defensive year, in my opinion, and they didn't even win the Super Bowl. They actually lost to the Raiders. But he did a lot of good things in the NFL, honestly. He was somewhat of a scrambler that then returned his game more to a pocket passer. He played with one of the greatest coaches of all time in John Madden, some of the greatest players of all time in a lot of those Raiders players in the 70s, George Atkinson and Biletnikoff and Dave Casper and everybody you could think of, from that 70s team, so many of them aren't even in the Hall of Fame, which is weird to think about, Cliff Branch, all these players, great players, as a matter of fact. And then don't even forget either, he was a color commentator on CBS for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
In the early 2000s, I think, and he left Alabama's. He left the CBS NFL telecast for Alabama football to do that on the radio. But unfortunately, he did pass away last year. This nomination for the NFL Hall of Fame kind of came 1 year too late, in my opinion, which is too bad. He died from colon cancer.
It's too bad that he didn't really enjoy being inducted to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, his induction speech, the presentation of his bust and everything was done by John Madden speaking, and Madden wasn't there because he's recovering from surgery or something. But it was really nice. It was really nice, to be honest. He's always said too that if he could have one quarterback to lead his team, I don't know if it was one game, like a one game must win, he said he'd pick Stabler. So that obviously, that's
I read an article.
One of the best things you could.
I read
an
article that John Madden did say that about Ken Stabler.
Yeah, he said it he said it again to last year when they had the first Raider game after he passed away. They had an on-field thing before or at halftime, and he said it again, crying too. Like he loved that dude. You could tell. You could tell with some of those guys, just the way they talk about him. With Brett Favre talking about his dad, we're talking about the first time he met Stabler. And Stabler was kind of the reason he wanted to play football. He said, he saw that guy who he later found out was Stabler, and he just thought he was so cool looking, like a cowboy, And obviously he was a Cowboy fan, so some of that is related to it too. But yeah, it was really nice to see. A lot of that stuff was great to watch. You got a little bit more on somebody, or did you want to get into the omissions from this year's class?
How much time do we have?
We're currently at about 28 minutes.
28 minutes. Do you want to keep going? Because we're flowing right now.
Yeah, we're flowing. If you want, you said you want to talk about Harrison a little bit.
I did want to talk about Marvin Harrison a little bit. Marvin Harrison was elected in his third year of eligibility, and the combo of Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning was just phenomenal when these two guys were just on the peak of their careers with the Indianapolis Colts. These two guys couldn't be stopped. To me, it's probably the best, definitely top 5, 1-2 combos ever in the NFL history. Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, one of the best.
One of the best. And 6-time Pro Bowler. He retired being 4th all-time in receiving yards. That is Marvin Harrison, which is now at 7th. But, man, Marvin Harrison, he was he was a quiet dude. Like he did his
it was never about him.
His play did the talking,
That'll come in to play when we talked about our omissions.
Yeah. I know who we're going to talk about.
Well, just because between the two, it's such a difference in persona.
Yeah.
That you have these old school guys voting for these players, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm sorry, continue. Go ahead. Because I know you want to talk a little bit about Bartolo.
Yeah, and then going to Eddie DeBartolo Jr. To me, he's regardless of what you think or not, I think he's the best NFL owner of all time.
I only think I'm biased, but the Steelers, because it's been in their family since the 60s, since the 50s, I think, for so long, and just the consistency and having the most Super Bowls of any team in the NFL in history, and them being responsible for all of them. I personally think the Rooney family is, but I don't think DeBartolo is very far behind. DeBartolo was one of the first owners that it could be behind the scenes, but DeBartolo was so fully upfront about being like loving his players and being an owner but a friend at the same time. He was a player's owner. He really was, yeah. And he, I forget what they were talking about it on his induction. His youngest daughter or oldest daughter, whichever one it was, youngest daughter, did the video instruction form and everything in presentation. And she was saying how it didn't matter if you were the ball boy, the towel kid, the water guy, or Joe Montana or Jerry Rice. He treated you all the same way. And he really felt for all his players, and guys that got hurt, he rode in the ambulances with them to the hospital and. Things like that, and he really wore his emotions on his sleeve when it came to his players. So
he treated all his employees like family, and
he did, yeah.
That doesn't happen in any type of job.
Yeah, not always, yeah.
Yeah, doesn't happen often.
And now that there's this whole world behind football, we now see with social media and the way football's covered these days. You see, team guys like the Steelers and with the old Art Rooney Sr. or Junior, the oldest of the Rooneys right now. He's funny looking, little tiny, like he's hunched over. They call him they call him Gramps, and they really look at them as father figures. Like Roethlisberger really looks at the Rooney family as like other fathers, excuse me. And then owners in general, in the league, you see that more now. But you really saw it first with DeBartolo.
And the thing with Eddie DeBartolo, when he was the owner for the San Francisco 49ers from 1977 to 2000.
He's the youngest owner of all time.
Yeah, youngest owner of all time. And the 5 Super Bowls that the Niners won under DeBartolo, they won it in 14 years, which was a record total for a single owner.
At that time, yeah.
At that time, yeah. And
it beat the Steelers because the Steelers won 4 in 6 years.
And remember, this is a man responsible hiring Bill Walsh, who's arguably one of the best coaches of all time.
Best offensive mind.
He's one of the sense. Yeah, exactly. And
arguably,
yeah. And he was responsible for that. And then, of course, you got Joe Montana, who is arguably the best quarterback of all time. Jerry Rice, who's arguably the best NFL player of all time. And just you
can swing it both ways, man.
Dude,
I'm saying I can swing it both ways. I'd be like, the Rooney's responsible for one of the best defenses of all time. And Chuck
that's
Noll.
why I said arguably.
Exactly.
It's the stuff's more opinionated.
Yeah, believe me, I'm not disagreeing with you in the sense of how great he was.
And when Bill Walsh was hired in 1979, of course they had a couple bad years in the beginning.
Hey, that's weird. This is literally the Steelers. This sounds exactly like Steelers.
Exactly. But
when Chuck Noll was hired in 1969.
But the Niners, after they turn around. After the early Walsh years, the 49ers averaged 13 wins per season from 1981 to 1988. And remember, they're the team of the 80s.
And they have – and the team of the 70s is who? And they had the record for road wins for such a long time, and that was because of DeBartolo. They traveled in style. He had them comfortable. He had them eating the right way and traveling together and their families were welcome.
I remember Jerry Rice used to always say if you look good, you play good. And that was
Deion Sanders.
No, that was
Deion says I was
Jerry
asking
Rice
why
used to say that sometimes too.
He might have got it from Deion because Deion, the quote from Deion was people used to ask him why he would lay his jersey out from head to toe before the game, and he says, because if you look good, you play good. You play good, or if you look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good. You play good, you get paid good. So you live good. You're gonna eat good.
Matter of fact, Sanders was even part of that the last Niners Super Bowl winning team. So he may have got it from Jerry Rice. May have got it from Deion Sanders.
I can't make that quote up. You look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good. You play good, you get paid good. You eat good. You're gonna live good. That's Deion right there.
It is. Oh, I love Deion. But
I like Deion.
one last fact about DeBartolo and the 49ers is that 49ers were the first team to reach 5 Super Bowl wins.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
Yes, they were the first team to reach 5. The Steelers were the last team to reach 5, but they were the first team to reach 6.
Yeah, I knew you were going to bring that up too.
But the Niners have never been beaten in the Super
Bowl. Well, they have been now.
Oh wait.
Yeah, well, they were undefeated until
I forget that Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, I don't.
I know you don't.
Well,
I don't at the same time.
It's unforgettable for a couple of reasons. You know, the blackout and the Beyonce halftime show. But I'm kidding.
Didn't even watch it.
I watched it a little bit.
No, I didn't bother.
You know.
Sorry, man.
And of course, you know, the 49ers were in it.
It was a good game.
It was a
that
blowout.
Kick return, long pass.
It was. I thought honestly it was going to be a blowout.
Oh, because of the start.
Dude, it was 31-6.
Hey, but it was 21-3 or 23-3 at halftime when the Steelers played for the Packers, and believe me, I thought it was gonna be a blowout too. Okay.
Well, anyways, we're gonna take our last break. Yeah,
it's a good discussion. I like it. Okay, so we're gonna take our last break, and we'll be back to talk about some notable names left off this year's list, and if those names and some other names might show up on next year's nominees list. So we'll be right back here, and you guys don't go anywhere.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. And really? You're going to interrupt me like that? Really?
Wow.
All right. Okay, whatever. But anyways, for our last segment of the day, we're going to talk about some notable omissions from this year's Hall of Fame inductees. But some of these guys can probably be the favorites to be inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2017. So, yeah, you got some names on there?
Yeah,
Alex?
I have 2 names omission-wise that were left off this year's list that are clearly favorites for next year's list, and that would be, number 1, Terrell Owens. Excuse me. Terrell Owens, obviously, everybody's very familiar with Terrell Owens. He finished his career with 1,078 receptions, just under 16,000 yards, and he had 153 touchdowns. His yardage is total second all-time. And his touchdown total is third all-time, and he had 9 1,000-yard receiving seasons in 11 years. Excuse me. We talked about it earlier with Marvin Harrison being so quiet, and then you have the complete opposite in Terrell Owens. We still have these, really more old-school kind of guys that look at football as, how it was in the 70s and 80s. I mean, it wasn't like hey, this is me.
Like it wasn't all flashy and all that,
Yeah, it wasn't, hey, this is me, kind of deal like that. And I think that harmed his voting potential this year.
No, it really did. It really did. Because there was a interview I saw with one of the writers. Forgot what publication it was for, or what station it was. But when he said when they were talking about putting Terrell Owens in the Hall of Fame, it was probably the longest discussion they had. Which was the second being Eddie DeBartolo being inducted in the Hall of Fame, which it did happen. It happened.
Yeah.
But he said that Terrell Owens, when his name came up, the longest all those guys talked. And I think the reason why he was not inducted to Hall of Fame is because of his character issues, in the locker room, off the field. And the writer that was interviewed even said that. That was the main reason why. He said that, all these teams couldn't wait to get rid of him, which I kind of disagree with. I don't think all these teams wanted to get rid of him. I can maybe make an argument towards maybe the Cincinnati Bengals because his play was declining. Maybe the Buffalo Bills because he only had a 1-year contract and they weren't going to spend more money to him. But, the Niners, when Terrell Owens was there, they were in rebuilding mode. So that's the reason why they traded him there. And when the Philadelphia Eagles there,
did you mention the Bengals?
I did.
Yeah.
Well,
him and Ocho Cinco.
I did. Well, I think he got released by the Bengals because his play started to decline a little bit.
No, he had a 2-year contract and they didn't resign him. Or he got hurt.
No, he did. Yeah, his play started to decline a little bit.
He got hurt or something.
Yeah.
But he played. Yeah, he had a good year with them though. He led the
He
team
did.
in
He
touchdowns
did.
that one
He
year.
did really good. He had a really good. Him and Ocho Cinco, had a really good combo.
Well,
but of course,
two of the best receivers in the mid 2000s. Honestly,
two of the most flashiest.
Two of the most talking.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Wow. Imagine being Carson Palmer on that team.
Imagine being Marvin Lewis on that team.
But anyways, going back, and of course Terrell Owens, he got traded from the Philadelphia Eagles to the Dallas Cowboys. He got traded to that team, and of course, Terrell Owens did really well with the Cowboys in those years that he was there, and of course, he went to the Buffalo Bills for a year. Made some really good plays with Fitzpatrick. Even Terrell Owens said that Ryan Fitzpatrick was his one of his favorite quarterbacks to play with, which I'm not surprised. But they didn't have a good year after that. And Terrell Owens last year in the NFL, his team was not good at all. They were not good, and I think that's the reason. I think he became a distraction for that team.
He got frustrated a lot.
He wasn't getting the ball, and of course he had Chad Ochocinco when he was known as Ochocinco back then. He changed his name back to Chad Johnson, which I'm kind of glad he did in a way. But yeah, I know Terrell Owens has the numbers that's Hall of Fame worthy, but I think it's going to take him a while to get in the Hall of Fame.
I don't know. I could see him getting in next year. There's not a huge...
No, I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I'm just saying, when you got these old school guys that vote these guys in, they're not... I don't think they're ready to put Terrell Owens in the Hall of Fame.
Well, they've also already said that.
But I think
sometimes there's times where they just want to get him out of the door, just get him in, because it'll be something like Art Monk, who was on the docket for years, So sometimes they did just want to get him.
Well, I don't think it's going to take Terrell Owens that long.
No, I could see him next year because there's not really many receivers waiting to get in now.
But Terrell Owens, he's a Hall of Famer. His numbers speak for themselves. When he was a game changer, a playmaker on the field. He
really was
best player on the field at times. But yeah, what's the other name on your list that you had, Alex?
I have one more, and then we can talk about some favorites to make. Okay. I have a few names for favorites to make next year, but Terrell Davis. Terrell Davis he only played 7 seasons, but so did Gale Sayers. He was a 2-time Super Bowl champion, NFL MVP, Super Bowl MVP, 2,000-yard rusher. And if you had to pick one running back in a postseason to be your running back, I would pick Terrell Davis. He averaged 142.5 yards per game in the postseason, which is by far the highest total in league history. He had 7 100-yard rushing games.
Still stands to this day.
Yeah, in postseason. And the Broncos went 7-0 in those games, including, obviously, their 2 Super Bowls. If you looked at somebody and at their numbers in the postseason and you said you could know for a fact they would produce the way they did throughout their career, I'd have him at easily at my running back spot. And I would have somebody like, I don't know, Montana or Brady, guys that just killed it in the postseason, and as my quarterback, but easily have him as my running back. Great player.
Oh yeah, Terrell
obviously
Davis
2,000 yards rusher.
Even when those 2 years when they won the Super Bowl, Terrell Davis was just a beast, especially when the year when they were going, they were 13-0 at one point in one of those years, and of course they lost a couple games there. But yeah, he was one of 3 non-quarterbacks in league history to won the league MVP and the Super Bowl MVP.
Oh, in the same year?
In the same
year. I was like,
yeah.
Dude, I know for a fact there's been way more than just 3.
In the same year. So, yeah, it kind of shocks me that Terrell Davis is not in this year, but I can honestly see Terrell Davis being a Hall of Fame more likely next year than Terrell Owens.
I could see that too.
Yeah.
Well, because it was Terrell Owens' first year of eligibility.
Well, yeah, and then Terrell Owens, he was a 2-time finalist for the Hall of Fame, including this year. And of course, he didn't get in, but yeah, I think Terrell Davis will get in next year. Yeah,
I do too.
He'll get in.
Well, have you seen some of the notable names for next year? It's like it's weird because it's finally all these players that I watched growing up. Obviously, you have Terrell Davis, you have T.O.
There's one that's a first year eligibility. Yeah. Damian Tomlinson.
Yeah, LT.
Yeah, LT.
You got John Lynch, Broncos, and Broncos and Buccaneers safety. I almost lost it there. Kurt Warner, great quarterback. Obviously, you have Jason Taylor in his first year of eligibility. You have Brian Dawkins, first year of eligibility. So many guys that are eligible next year. I could see a few people. I could see LT, first ballot, getting in. It's going to be hard for TD to get in also next year because they don't always go multiple positions. But I could see LT for sure. I could see Warner getting in first go. I think Alan Faneca can make it next year. I think for a coach, Don Coryell could make it. I could totally see Lynch making it. And maybe this is finally the year we get Morton Anderson in there.
Yeah, he was
a finalist this year.
Yeah, he was a finalist this year. Yeah, and I think he will get in next year. Mm-hmm. I think Daniel Thomason will get in also.
I think LT and Warner. I think
Warner.
Full.
I think they're like kind of
sure
getting
shots.
in. The sure shots. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And another name that's also notable is Adrian James. Also.
Adrian James.
James.
He'll be a tricky one. He was a finalist this year.
It might get him a while to be inducted.
There's kind of a stopgap right now at running back, so that'll be trickier.
But Terrell Davis will get in before Adrian James, in my opinion.
But I think LT gets in before both.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Because remember, LT had like probably one of the best seasons ever for a running back at the time. When he had the touchdown record of the in a year.
Mm-hmm. In one
season. And he was honestly the best player on that team when he was in his prime. So, and he was, if LaDainian Tomlinson wasn't on the Chargers when at his peak, I don't know how many games they would have won. Because I know they got Phillip Rivers. He was young.
Drew Brees a little bit before that.
Drew Brees. And then they have Phil Rivers. And his first early years, he wasn't as there weren't much of a pass-friendly offense as they were now in San Diego. Mm-hmm. But yeah, LaDainian Thompson, the offense ran through him. And
he was the offense.
He was the offense.
Yeah.
And you remember, he had one of the best years for running backs at the time.
Yeah, he still holds the record for touchdowns.
Exactly. He still has one of the best seasons. And if he doesn't get inducted to the Hall of Fame...
Oh, he will.
Well, which I think he will, then I'll be surprised. So... But I think he will get in. I think he will get in. Here. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, we're done here, man.
Man, good discussions today, man.
Good discussions
Loved
today.
It.
So we are coming back on our next episode, but our next episode is not as fun as this one. It's just as fun. It's not more fun. It's not less fun. It's just as fun.
I think it's more fun.
It's a little bit. No, it's normal news. We're going to talk some Arizona Cardinals. We got some contract extensions. We're going to talk a fellow NFC West member. On the defensive side of the ball for the San Francisco 49ers getting a contract extension. And we're going to talk about what, Jeremiah?
We're going to talk about a quarterback and Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, who just got named the starter today. I'm sure you guys can work that one out for yourselves. So we're going to get going. But as always, you can find us on Twitter at the GSMC_football podcast, GSMC_football on Twitter and Instagram. Not to mention you can find us on YouTube at the GSMC Football Podcast, as well as on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, GSMC Football Podcast. And you can find us on our website, gsmcpodcast.com, as well as on Facebook.
Yes, at the Golden State Media Conference Football Podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As always, I'm Alex.
And I'm Jeremiah.
And we will see you guys on our next show.